I hear what you're saying, that no one saw the collapse coming. However, I've read the dissent cable, your embassy personnel, that you provided to me, that they sent to you in July before the collapse in 2021, warning of Afghanistan's imminent collapse, fearing for their safety. You personally read this, sir, and cleared it. Your Deputy Secretary, Brian McCaul, testified before this committee that you took no step to answer the cries for help. And as you know, Secretary of State, you have a responsibility to protect Americans and diplomats.
Mr. Chairman, that's incorrect.
Why did you ignore the cries for help? Why did you leave this embassy open? And finally, who was in charge? Was it you or Mr. Sullivan? Because it seems to me you delegated all your responsibility on this. You had very little to do with it, and it was Jake Sullivan and the National Security Council at the White House calling all the shots. However, under law, sir, you're the captain of the ship.
Mr. Chairman, that's incorrect on a number of counts, as is the report that I've read. First, when it comes to a NEO, the evacuation, that is a decision that's reached by the entire interagency and ultimately by the President. The State Department initiates it by asking the Department of Defense to proceed with it, but the decision itself is reached as a result of interagency deliberations. And we did not, as an interagency, and that includes the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the National Security Advisor,
who's in charge?
President.
This is going to help us legislate,
no, this is
sir.
important.
Were you in charge of this evacuation?
I was in charge of the State Department. The government, the administration, was in charge of the evacuation. Specifically, the State Department and the Department of Defense together on any NEO work closely together with clearly assigned responsibilities, and that's exactly what we did.
And it is the statutory responsibility, sir, for you to execute the plan, correct? The NEO.
The NEO was executed by the State Department and the Defense Department together.
And I would have to say, sir, waiting till the last minute is not executing a plan at all. And it led to the deaths of many Americans
Mr. Chairman,
and Afghan people and Afghan allies.
Mr. Chairman, the record reflects that, again, this decision was reached collectively. No one urged initiating the NEO until we decided to do it on the 14th.
I think in my review of our investigation, there was so much confusion coming out of your embassy, coming from the top military advisors who told me, testified that they told you to close down that embassy in advance to protect Americans and American assets and classified documents.
Correct.
They were left to the Taliban. You were in charge by law. You may have delegated this. I don't know. But to legislate moving forward, I need to know who was in charge. And that's why it is so important that Mr. Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, come before this committee and give his testimony about what the hell was going on during this disastrous evacuation. With that, I now recognize the ranking member.